We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraum. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, we have plenty of things to talk about today. We're going to talk about the sales of the largest electric vehicle automaker in the world keep going down quite significantly. We have an even bigger electric Escalade, the IQL. We have the Volvo ES90 unveiling, the IONIQ 9 unveiling, a few 2025 model year unveiling of a few vehicles that we need to share you the specs and the changes and all that. And then at the end, as usual, we're going to take you guys' questions. It can be about any of these topics that we're going to discuss today or any other topics in the EV world you want our take on. We are open to that. So jump in the comment section right now. I'm going to remind you of that a little bit later for people that are still coming in right now. I know that not everyone can listen live. We can also take your question if you leave a review, a 5-star review only if you enjoy the show, of course. On the Apple Podcast app, we can take questions through that too now, so you can do that. All right, let's jump in. Tesla sales in Europe. The numbers for February now have come in. We reported the one in January that were down roughly 50% from the year prior. And sorry. So I want to start out with something because there's like the main thing that people always come back at us when we report these numbers as significant about we think that it's a clear indication that Tesla is going very badly right now. The demand is falling off a cliff. People always, don't worry about it. It's the Model Y changeover. That's what's affecting the sales mostly, and we're not worried about it. There's some truth to that. For sure, the new Model Y changeover is affecting sales to a certain degree, but there's two things you have to keep in mind. Around the same time last year, it was the Model 3 changeover that was happening. So there was already this effect in play from last year. You're going to tell me Model 3 is a smaller vehicle program than Model Y, so the effect on that is not as big. True. But now you have to look at another thing is like, how do you compare Model 3 sales from last year, which should be bad to start with because of the changeover, to today's Model 3 sales, which had the benefit of an entire year of production RAM for the new version. And those are down too. So that should be your clear indication that Tesla is having a very big demand problem, especially in Europe. Data is a little bit more opaque in the US. In China, we're getting some numbers too. And it's down, but again, less so than in other markets. And in this case, probably the Model Y can explain most of it. Now, going back to Europe, we have all the numbers here coming in. And yep, it's not great. Germany is the biggest issue right now by far, which you can put a direct correlation with Elon's involvement in the meddling in politics and backing the AfD party, which just lost the election. So last month we reported like a 50% drop. This quarter is a 76% drop from 6,000 units to 1,400 units. And so now it's 70% down year over year in what used to be Tesla's biggest market in Europe. Now the UK is the biggest market, and the UK is actually, after being down the first month, it's up a little bit this month. So now it's up. It was up roughly like 15-20% in February. Now it's up 7.7% through the year. So that's good for Tesla there. But Germany is down big time to a certain degree that, I'm starting set to expect layoffs and even possibly even store closures. Because if you go from delivering like 6,000 vehicle a month in the quarter in the market to 1,500, something has to give at one point.
Yeah, and I wonder if, how that works. Like, what's going to be the first ball to drop? Will Tesla, as you said, start laying people off? I can't imagine closing stores, but
it would be unprecedented. Closing store would be unprecedented, but layoffs around this time last year, maybe like a month further into the year, there was the big 15% cuts of the staff, and Tesla does a yearly, cuts headcounts by roughly like 10% or so yearly. So maybe we see that happening, and that goes to a broader layoff wave at Tesla. I don't know for sure. Looking at other markets here, you have France is also way down. Not as bad as January, but still significantly down. They are down 44% for the whole year. Netherlands is now down 34%. They were down a little bit, again, a little bit less than January, but still significantly. Norway, which, biggest AV market per capita in Europe, down 45%. Spain recovered a little bit, but still down 44%. Sweden down really bad, 44%. Denmark is roughly slashed in half the entire market. They only delivered 500 cars. Portugal, same thing. It's not doing very good, other than the UK, which is surprising because
what's the anomaly there? Why is it? Is it just because they stopped for a while there and now they're catching up to demand?
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I didn't look into it that much, to be honest with you. I know that the sales of used Teslas surged in the UK. So I know that a lot of people are selling their Teslas and the price of that are going down. But they're buying new ones. There's still incentives in place. So I guess people want to take advantage of those. But the general thing in Europe is sales going down for sure. And in China, so we talked a bit about the Chinese market. Chinese market is down year over year for Tesla. And some of that can be explained by the Model Y changeover, but Model 3 deliveries are also down. And this is Tesla's biggest problem in China. It's the competition. It's not as much, it's not Elon meddling in politics and all that. They don't care about that much there. But and also, Elon doesn't meddle with Chinese politics at all.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He keeps a healthy distance with that. Everything else he's willing to discuss. That not much. But it's the competition. And I'm using this example here because I'm kind of reminded of the, Seth, you're going to remember this because we've been around for a long time with the Tesla space, the Tesla killer. The medical creature, the Tesla killer. It's a term that the media would use all the time in the early days of Tesla. They would use it for every new car that came out. The Porsche Taycan was a Tesla killer. The Audi e-tron was a Tesla killer. Everything was a Tesla. The Bolt EV was a Tesla killer, even though it didn't compete at all in the same segment. It's a term that was overused. We laughed at the media for using it because, none of them came close to affecting Tesla negatively, let alone kill the company. But I'm not saying this one is, but this one is coming as close as it gets for a few reasons. First of all, it's in China. China is the biggest EV market. It is Tesla's biggest market, the most important market. It's the one where Tesla has the most competition, and this one competes the closest with Tesla, and especially the Model 3. So I've been saying that Model 3 sales are down. So last month, Tesla delivered about 8,000 Model 3s. Not last month. We don't have the sales from last month just yet. So January, Tesla delivered about 8,000 Model 3s in China. And Xiaomi delivered over 20,000 SU7. So it's trouncing Tesla's sale in China. And Tesla's Model 3 trend has been going down in the country. And they are copying, to be fair, Tesla to some degree, but they're also improving on it because just on the production level alone, and I know you remember this, said like the Gigafactory Shanghai for Tesla was massive, super impressive rollout. From construction to production within 9 months or so.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Absolutely insane. And then when the production started, Tesla produced 50,000 Model 3s within 6 months of starting production, which was wild. Like no one saw that coming. That's when Tesla cars started going crazy too, because Gigafactory Shanghai was a giant success. As impressive as that is, Xiaomi destroys that. Within the first 6 months of SU7 production, they produced over 70,000 of them. So they beat Tesla by 20,000 units, like 40%. It's nuts. And then now you look at the sales, and over the first year of production of the SU7, they delivered, where did I put that? I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't even put that in the article. Okay. I remember it by heart. It's around Yeah, 150,000 units for Tesla and 160,000 units for the SU7 within the first year. So they had a bigger ramp up in the first year, more demand in the first year, sold more cars, stole market share for Tesla. And now if you need the biggest indication of how the SU7 is just destroying Tesla right now, even though Xiaomi has higher production than Tesla has Model 3 production in China, you can get a new Model 3 order, or at least you could at the time of writing this article earlier this year, within 1 to 3 weeks, while you have to wait between 31 and 34 weeks for the SU7. So you can imagine the kind of backlog of demand there is for a while. You could argue that it's actually helping Tesla sell a few Model 3s, because if you're on the market for a car right now and you're like your SU7 is on the top of your list, but you cannot wait more than half a year for it, you're gonna go for the Model 3. And then you look at the actual specs of like why this will be more popular. I mean, the design is kind of subjective, and I do very much like the Model 3 update, the new design from last year.
It looks like a Taycan if you like try to draw it from memory or something.
No, I mean, I do see the resemblance with the Taycan, especially on the front end. But yeah, I think it works very well for the car format.
It's a good looking car.
It's 20,000 yen cheaper than the Model 3 in China. It's about $2,500 cheaper. It has a bigger battery pack that gets you 10% more range than the Model 3 at the base standard. And it's packed with a lot more tech that Tesla doesn't really go for better or worse. But like heads-up display, for example. That's standard on the car. Tesla doesn't do heads-up display. I personally, if it's well-made, I've never tried the Xiaomi SU7, but if it's well-made, and most of them are these days in new cars, it's very useful.
Yep.
It has something like a mini fridge in the back too. Some people like that, don't care about it that much. And if you're comparing it with Tesla, it has a turn signal stalk. So high-tech stuff, stuff. So yeah, with all of that, okay, and yeah, when I said it was copying Tesla too, it has gigacasting. Well, they call it hypercasting there. They're just changing, but they have the 9,000 pounds casting machine like Tesla does. So it has the giant rear casting system, which Tesla actually doesn't have in the Model 3. They have in the Model Y, but they never transfer that to the Model 3. So they're kind of ahead on this front. They have even something like very similar to Tesla's structural battery pack, which I also don't think Tesla is doing on the Model 3, only doing on the Model Y, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, all of this now, why I'm saying that it's as close as the Tesla killer as it gets, not necessarily the SU7 itself, but what Xiaomi managed to do with the SU7, it's going to do now with this car, the YU7, which is what the SU7 is to the Model 3 to the Model Y now. And that's the Tesla killer thing, is that if they do the same to the Model Y in China as they did with the Model 3, you basically slash Tesla's biggest market with its most popular vehicle by far. And I think that's problematic for Tesla. That's they should be worried about that greatly. So basically, Tesla is feeling the pain right now in Europe. Most likely in the US, again, very opaque market. We're gonna have to wait a little bit more to say, but we have a few posts about that too. And then China, I think the pain is gonna come later this year, especially if the Model Y changeover is either the ramp up is not great or the demand is soft, which the demand looks quite soft, to be honest with you. We talked a little bit about it last podcast, but the wait time on the new Model Y order are surprisingly short.
Right.
And now going to the US market, Tesla is pulling demand lever every side of things. And even the Cybertruck is getting now discounted financing option, which is very surprising so early in the program, and when you're supposed to have 1 million reservation for it. So Model 3, Model Y, the Model Y is still good because of the changeover, but Model 3 got discounted financing for the end of the quarter, so Tesla is boosting that for the end of the quarter with 0% APR on 60 months or 72 months, and 1% if you want to put zero down. So these are very subsidized financing options. And now you even have it on the Cybertruck, though I'll buy it a little less at 2% rather than, I think the regular rate without Tesla subsidizing it, it's like 5% or so. So these are very expensive promotion for Tesla to, slash 3.5% off of APRs. It's no joke. So I think at this point it's fair to say that the Cybertruck is a flop because it's basically Tesla's having issues selling it at 10% of its planned production capacity.
Yeah, I mean it's not what they said it was going to be. It's not, doesn't have the range, doesn't have the price. I think if they sold, $40,000 Cybertrucks, I think they would sell a little bit better.
A lot better. Would they set 250,000 a year though? I'm not even sure they would get to that with the original plan.
I don't know. They're kind of, at this point they're kind of hated. So I think it's kind of a pariah vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not just bad news, at Electrek, we are accused of only focusing on bad news when it comes to Tesla, but we do have good news this week. It's so it's something that Tesla mentioned at the last earning calls. It was like we already have a location in mind for a new Megafactory to produce the Megapack. So it was like, oh, that's interesting news, and now we know exactly why. As far as I know, like this came out. This came out 2 days ago. Unless I missed it, I didn't see Tesla post about it. So we learned about it through Waller County, which is just outside of Houston, Texas. The Waller County Commission, they announced that they approved a tax abatement to seal the deal on Tesla building a Megafactory there. So Tesla is getting plenty of tax abatement. The deals includes $44 million in facility improvement, $150 million in Tesla manufacturing equipment that will install. The next phase involves a new $31 million distribution facility with about $2 million in Tesla distribution equipment and building upgrades. So they're getting tax abatements on all that. So it's just outside of Cady, Texas, which is just outside of Houston, like I said. It's the Empire Industrial Park. And there's already a building about 1 million square feet, and it's called the Tesla Empire Warehouse, but it's actually operated by someone else, by a subcontractor of Tesla. So this subcontractor is going to be moving out, and Tesla is going to be moving in and install the production line for the Megapacks, for new Megapacks, on top of another building. So I'm assuming this is if you're looking at the screen, this is the space here that's empty. They're going to build a new building about 600,000 square feet. And this is going to support the manufacturing operation for the Megapacks at the main building. They didn't confirm any production capacity. Like I said, Tesla didn't actually announce this. It was based on the abatement approval from the Waller County. But the approval mentioned 1,500 jobs that are going to be created to that project. So I assume this would include like construction job, and then after that, the permanent jobs to produce those packs. So Tesla Energy is the only part of Tesla's business that is growing right now, and it's growing at an impressive rate, as we noted. And a lot of that is through the ramp up of Tesla's other Megafactory in Lathrop, California.
Hey, do you remember when Elon said Tesla Energy could one day be as big as the auto part of Tesla?
Do you think he meant that the automotive business
Auto's coming down, energy's going up?
Yeah, I mean, they gave it to Elon. He's a great visionary. He saw that coming. And now they have the Shanghai Megafactory that just went online earlier this year. So this is going to be a pretty big ramp up. So this is going to keep things going for Tesla. They have the 40 gigawatt hour that I think is pretty much ramped up now in Lathrop. Now this year they ramped that up in Shanghai, and no official timeline on this starting production, but I would assume it's going to be sometime next year. So there's going to be a good momentum for Tesla Energy at least. But not everything is rosy at Tesla Energy. The margins have been going down, the prices have been going down, and the competition has been going up, especially from CATL and BYD, which are a tough competitor for Tesla because they are the one that provide the cells for those products. And now they are doing the entire product themselves, the cells that they build, and they build the packs. So it's something to worry about, I would think. All right, before we move on to non-Tesla news, the last one is our kind of our weekly update on the podcast on the big Tesla protests that are happening, all week, but mostly during the weekend. And we reported, so it's been 3 weeks now that we've been reporting on this, and we noted that we were surprised by just how much momentum they're getting. They are really ramping up. And for the most part, they are peaceful, and they are, they're people expressing their freedom of expression. But it got a little bit wild last weekend. First of all, it got a lot bigger, like a lot bigger. Put this sound here, but like look at this set. This is Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, Tucson. Look at that. These are all people here, and on both sides of the looks like a big boulevard there in front of the Tesla store. Like hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't know how many exactly.
There was, 700 people at my local Tesla place in Mount Kisco. I don't.
Wow.
That's unconfirmed, but that's.
I believe it. I believe it. There's been a lot of reports that things have been like huge. Some of that in Seattle, there were a ton of people. A lot of stores had to close because there's just too many people. In Manhattan, they had to close, but this one got a little bit wild. Some protester got inside the store, and so they had to shut it down because they were disruptive, and there was some vandalism was going on too, because I think I see some broken glass in that video on the left side when they pan out. Maybe we don't see it on this one, or I already saw it. So you see one of the protesters here tried to open back the door so that more people could get in, even though it mainly looks like media is right there more than anything else.
Like but 600 media, and it's Manhattan, so 600 media, 500 protesters.
Yeah, but to be fair, there were a lot of people in Manhattan protesting, like about 300 people, and that's like a tight street and whatnot, so you kind of stuck there. But it keeps going. This weekend, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of more protests planned at Tesla store. Like, they're not letting go of the pressure. They want to be heard, and they want Elon Musk out. That's pretty much it. All right, before moving to non-Tesla news, I want to remind you guys that we are live and we can take you guys' questions. So if you have, any question about any of the topics that we're discussing today, or any of the other topics in the EV world that you want to take on, you can put them in the comment section right now on whatever app you're listening to, and we're going to get to it in just a few minutes. But let's start out with the unveiling this week, of the Volvo ES90.
Love this.
Take it away, Seth.
Like, it's pretty good looking. 800 volts, so like it's kind of pulling up all the all the complaints you would have about Volvo EVs. This one looks good. It's got the 800 volt fast charging. It's got a 3.9 second 0 to 60. It's somewhere between a sedan, an SUV, and a fastback, so it's got plenty of trunk space. It's got a microscopic frunk, but it's like one of those cars that kind of checks a lot of boxes. We don't have all the specs on it yet, and they're not all finalized. And of course, this isn't coming to the US first round, so we don't have EPA range, but 430 WLTP, so you're looking at probably 360, 70 or something. Mm-hmm. And that's with a 100 kilowatt hour battery. So that is way more efficient than Volvo's like EX90, Polestar 3, which have the same or the similar size battery, but don't go nearly as far on a charge. So they're doing a lot of good stuff there. There's a lot of efficiencies happening.
These battery options are interesting here. So you have a 106 pack for the all-wheel drive, and then the other option for the rear-wheel drive. So it's not really an option. It's either you want all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive.
Right.
They dropped the pack, but not by that much, just by 10 kilowatt hour to 96. So it's basically they take the efficiency gain you get from having just a single motor, less weight, and then they were like, we can probably get a similar range.
That's right. Yeah, because you get the same range for everything.
Yeah. I don't hate that idea.
Speculator asked, will the Volvo ES90 have a NACS port? Which non-Tesla NACS port equipped cars are coming soon? I don't know, actually. It's something that didn't cross my mind because I know Volvo is like right on the cusp of doing NACS ports. Obviously, the ones in Europe aren't going to have an NACS port because it's North American. Yeah. But I imagine it might. Like I think we're at that point where they're going to start having them. So all the ones that we're seeing here are going to have CCS because they're for Europe. But
the timing makes sense. The timing makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot more aggressive looking for a Volvo, right?
Like, yeah, it's not boxy.
It's sportier than you would be used to with a Volvo.
Yeah, it's their most efficient car ever. The lowest coefficient of drag, 0.25 coefficient of drag.
Mm-hmm. From the back here. I mean, from the back, it looks very much like a Volvo.
Yep.
But it's the front end and profile that you have some LiDARs. Is that a LiDAR sensor?
It's got a LiDAR. It's got the same kind of sensor suite as the EX90, which means it can do a lot of safety stuff, but also traffic aware cruise control, and software updates will mean more and more stuff. But
let's look at the trunk opening here.
Yep.
Decent size, so it's a nice hatchback.
Yeah, you can throw a couple bikes back there, some golf clubs, plenty of room.
Not mad at the format at all.
Yeah, Volvo's really kind of looking good in the EV space. Like they've got like some good offerings. The EX30 on the small side, mid size. You got the EX60, and now EX90, ES90.
And in the inside, you have the Android, the Google setup.
Yep. And the screen is bigger than the EX30, which I thought was too small, but I still wonder if it would be beneficial to be a little bit bigger than that. I don't know.
The center one or the driver
display? The center one. Yeah, I mean, you're reading stuff off of like Google Maps, which is kind of meant for like a tablet or whatever. And, if you're someone like me who drives without glasses but needs them to read, it becomes problematic.
Yeah.
Nice glass roof, and it also has like Porsche and a few others have that glass roof.
Electromagnetic thing, right? Yeah, not mad at all. So when is that thing coming to market?
I think they're taking orders now. I think we're looking at 2020. It's a 2026 model, so it's probably coming toward the end of the year.
Yeah, in Europe first.
In Europe. Okay. I would imagine for real in 2026 in the US.
If we're lucky, because some automakers, they're getting a little bit shaky about launching electric sedan in the US.
Yeah, I know.
They think that all the American wants is this thing set.
Yes.
What is that?
So the other new announcement that we'll cover this week is the Cadillac Escalade IQL, and the L stands for length because it's longer. And my thing is Escalade is just the biggest boat of a car you can get, and how are they going to innovate on that? They're going to make it longer. So the new one, the IQL, which comes out next year as well, or it comes out later this year, 2026 model, has more legroom in the third row and you can see behind the third row.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, you've got almost like another car, like a car trunk behind. So, I mean, you could almost put a fourth row in there. That was kind of my...
Yeah, or they could have made the third row even more spacious, and you fold it down completely when you actually need the space in the back.
Yeah, or they could have made the second row like swivel and had like proper third row there. I mean, that would have been a popular item with Cadillac owners and limo drivers.
Yeah, it would be great for limo drivers, for Ubers, for like XL Ubers, because your third row is now super comfortable, and you don't always really need the back unless you're like bringing someone to the airport or something.
Yep. Price tag $136,000 or $133,000. Yeah, and that's the starting price. That's like there's 4 models. They didn't even, they didn't give a range, but they're just not like you remember. I remember when $100,000 was like, whoa, a supercar. and now it's just like right by that.
I mean, someone has to pay for that 200 kilowatt hour battery pack in there. 205 kilowatt hours, excuse me.
Yeah.
And the regular Escalade EQ gets like 420 miles of range, so you expect just a little bit less off of that, I assume.
No, I think they actually expect the same amount of range.
Really?
Yeah, just I don't know, it's just a little heavier. I mean, at that weight, it's already just a tank.
Yeah. Still staying with the SUV, but a little bit more reasonable in size and in price, is the full unveiling now of the Hyundai IONIQ 9. So it's the biggest SUV, biggest EV period from Hyundai, adding to the lineup from the 5 and then 6. Now you have the 9. Comes with the latest battery technology, NCM from Hyundai, with a 110.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's going to get you an estimated 330 miles of range, and that's EPA estimated, so they already released that. That's cool. In WLTP, that's 385 miles, or 620 kilometers. It's going to use an advanced HVAC system. And this one, I'm like, I'm not so impressed by that number, but they say that extremely cold temperature, which they quote as -7 or 19 Fahrenheit. And I'm like, this is basically what we have right now. And it's like, it just got warmer for us. Like, is that really extreme cold? You get 250 miles of range or 400 kilometers. So it's not that impressive because you're still losing almost 100 miles on the EPA. But I think it's more, they do that more for the WLTP, I assume, because the WLTP doesn't account for climate control. So it's very useful for them to do that, while the EPA does account for some of it, though obviously in extreme cold, you should expect much lower range than your EPA. But I don't know why I'm being picky with them on that. I do like that they share some data on that ahead of time, because it wouldn't be bad for automakers to do that in general, I think. How do you feel about the design? So we have the front end in front of us right now, and they say that they have like new active air flap for airflow.
I like it. It's just a little bit weird. I don't know why.
A little bit busy.
Yeah, and like there's like it's like a bent station wagon or something.
And like this part here is, I don't know what's going on exactly, but then you have the headlights, which are pretty cool, which are similar to the IONIQ 5. They have a 25.9 CD. So you said that the ES90 from Volvo had a similar CD, right? Drag coefficient. That's impressive, because this is full-size SUV. Let's look at the inside a little bit. Has a little bit more space inside than the Kia EV9, which is interesting because they are based on the same platform, I would assume. Almost 100 liters more space. That's good. It's a bit smaller than the R1S from Rivian. Look, we can check a few. No, the pictures don't work here if I do that. I don't like this specific gallery we have on the website. If I click on it, it's not always working, but I can zoom in.
What about that button on the top right?
No, it doesn't do anything. It's weird.
Huh.
It's weird because the gallery you had on the ES90 worked when I click on that.
Yeah.
I think it's a specific like former gallery that just doesn't allow expansion. Anyway, this is inside baseball for Electrek. It's not for you guys. You can see the third row here. Doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look ideal either, but it's a little bit smaller than the IQL that we just talked about. And this thing is coming to Europe, US, and other market this year, and they're opening the pre-orders right now, so you can do it. And the starting price is expected in the US to be around $60,000, so just a little bit more than the EV9. But like the EV9, I think you can option it up pretty high. We're starting to have a lot of option in the SUV space.
Yeah, especially the third rows.
Yeah, it's no joke. And another SUV here, but a little bit smaller one, is the Prologue from Honda, aka Equinox with Apple CarPlay. And we have the 2025 model year, so a little bit of changes here. Same price, but a few upgrades, especially the range is now 12 miles higher than a 2024 model year at 308 miles of range. You have the trims now are the EX, the Touring, and the Elite, and the same starting price of $47,400. What else? Single motor now has 220 horsepower versus 212. So you get 8 more horses in there. A little bit more torque as well. So it's fairly mild update here. But all of the versions have a little bit more range, a little bit more power differently here. So you can see you get down to 294 if you use the all-wheel drive, but you get a little bit more power again. Do we have a lot of other options here? They have charging options to credit for charging equipment, and also subscription for. Oops, what happened there? To charge at home, and this is something that a lot of this is something I think a lot of automakers. And unfortunately for legacy automakers, it's also going to involve the dealerships. But they needs to have more option there, because I think a lot of buyers that are a bit reticent to go electric right now, the home charging situation is a big part of that, and they want it taken care of. So I think a lot of automakers should do that, where they're like, all right, you buy the car, you'll get a certain amount of credits with an installer that we have approved, and you go directly there. And I know some dealers do that, some automakers do it too, but more dealers take the lead on that, because they have a better chance of knowing the local installers and whatnot. Well, I think this is something a lot of automakers and dealers should invest in, because it facilitates the selling experience for new electric vehicle buyers. And one thing should help with that too is the standardization of charging station in North America with NACS now. If you have a NACS or if you have a universal charger, you're good. Like whenever you change your EVs, you get a new one. You don't have to have a new charging station installed or use an adapter or anything. Yeah. All right, 2 more news articles before we jump into the comment section. So if you guys have a question for us, you can put them in the comments right now. We'll get to them in just a few minutes. We have a little bit of an update from Rivian, nothing too deep, but I know a lot of people are very excited about the R2 and the R3, R3X and all that, so figure it's worth mentioning to you guys. But it's from Claire McDonough, the CFO at Rivian. She inserted a few questions, and she gave basically a little update on the work for the R2 happening at normal, because the production is going to start there. She says that the sourcing of parts is now 95% complete, and they're still working on building the production lines. And those production lines, are expected to start up in the first half of 2026, so about a year from now. It's still, on schedule. And then a little bit more color on the R3 production. I know some people hope that maybe Rivian would do the R3 first, because people are really excited about it, but they're sticking to the R2 first. And the R3 production is going to start, if I understand it correctly from her comment, at the Georgia plant. So when they have expanded R2 production there. So they are starting out at normal with the R2, ramping up production, hiring out the production process in normal, deploying the production in Georgia, and then doing the R3 after that, also in Georgia. So the facilities are expected to come online until 2028. So if I'm understanding that correctly, that would mean that the R3 would not come until 2028 either, or even further than that, because R2 would come there first. Unless I'm mistaken, unless I'm understanding wrong, but the R3X is
still a ways out.
Yeah, it's the mythical hot hatch that we. I mean, now you can have other hot hatch option. You have the IONIQ 5N, kind of a nice little hot hatch. So it's not the end all be all after all.
Chevy Bolt. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, give it. I mean,
Well,
maybe they're gonna launch like the new one's gonna have all-wheel drive, and yeah, they could do it. I could
we'll
see them
see.
doing it.
We'll see.
And then we had another Volkswagen show car unveiled, the ID every one with one in numerical numbers and not every one as a word.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow these things. Like, so you have the ID2 that's coming. So the if I understand correctly, so the ID2 is like the $25,000-$30,000 vehicle, or that's going to be based on the ID2 all that was unveiled a few weeks ago that we talked about. So that one is coming next year in 2026. And now you have the ID1, which is going to be based on this concept that was unveiled. And this is going to be the $25,000 car, which doesn't mean it's going to come to the US. So what we have right now, we have some of the specs, some of the images also. Very much a show car looking, but you get an idea of the size, you get an idea of the form factor. And we had some specs too, but they were specific to the specs for the show car, what they are achieving right now, and not exactly what you're going to get in the production version, which is going to come closer to 2027 or 2028, I think. So what would you get right now is a top speed of 81 miles per hour, front-wheel drive motor capable of 70 kilowatts. That's 94 horsepower, 155 miles of range, equivalent to 250 kilometers. Seating for four, a little bit of cargo space. It's shorter than the ID2 All, obviously, but longer than the VW Up. So you can compare it to the Up. It's a little bit longer.
Chances of this coming to the US?
Less than 10%.
0.001.
Yeah.
Maybe
One
they'll do.
less than 10%.
I think they were talking about maybe doing a what is it, like a sport version, a hot hatch version. So maybe that has a better chance of making it in the US. Maybe not.
I mean, maybe even more of the ID2 than the ID1 or everyone.
Yeah, I mean the ID3 isn't even in the US. So. All right.
And it's still selling okay in Europe and in China.
All right, Speculorier says people that pay more to get an EV do that for the ideological reasons. Isn't this boycott permanent since Elon aligned with the climate villains, Trump and AFD? Yes, sort of. I mean, theoretically, that's like somebody's buying them right now. Like they're not buying a lot, but some portion. I'm still tempted. Like I wish I had another option, but I'm still tempted to upgrade my Model Y. So
it's not like they're not making good cars. They're not perfect. Obviously, they have issues, and I am personally worried about the quality going down just because Tesla is like what you're seeing with the boycotts right now, the protests and everything like that. Don't think that everyone at Tesla also like feels great about working for Elon Musk and what's happening. Like a lot of them are also not happy about it, and a lot of people are going away. We reported quite heavily on that on the exodus of talent, if you will.
yeah.
But yeah, I think he's generally right that this boycott is to a certain degree permanent because I think a lot of people, Elon has, tarnished his reputation in the eyes of many people permanently, a lot of people for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the ES90 not having, or we don't know if the ES90 has a NAC Sport. What other non-Tesla NAC Sport equipped cars are coming soon? I think GM's going to start rolling out their like GM and Ford are going to start.
Hyundai too. Hyundai
Already has one, right?
Yeah, Hyundai has. So
yeah.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah. All right. Peter Ruiz, what other EV companies are real competitors beyond the traditional car companies? Ford, Chevy, Honda, Volvo, Toyota. Will Lucid, Rivian, and others survive financial needs for continued growth in operations? Will foreign companies like BYD be able to sell into the USA? Is it possible spinning off BYD America or other companies to be an independent company from Chinese or other foreign ownership in order to sell in the U.S. market?
That's the question. That's a crazy question.
That's basically why we're here. This is like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
First of all, in terms of like real competitor to Tesla, from traditional automakers, like the one that you named, they're pretty good. But I would add, like we do love the Koreans here, like the Kia, Hyundai. I think are doing incredible work, so I would put them in there. Lucid and Rivian, like I don't think you can put them exactly in the same spot. I think Rivian is most likely going to survive. Lucid has good chances too,
It's just a
but
different
yeah,
game.
they're
They have
very
great
different.
technology.
Like Lucid is making it pretty clear now that they are willing and going the way of pivoting a little bit towards supplying other people with their technology. So maybe that's more. Maybe Lucid ends up. I do think Lucid is going to probably get to the next generation vehicle, sort of like Rivian with the R2s. I think it's probably going to get there. If it's going to be successful there, I don't know, but it's probably going to get there, and see partnerships and all that. Rivian, I think, could definitely manage on its own. Not that's going to be easy, but they made great progress on the gross margin front for the R1s with the next gen's vehicle, and now it's about maintaining that in a very tough U.S. market right now, while bringing up the R2's production, which is financially, that's the R2, that's where the money's at, where you can be sustainable by itself without further investment. And I right now they have the money to get there. It's just it has to not be a flawless launch of production from the R2, but it has to be like a very well executed one, which is very difficult to do. So it's possible, but also very difficult. But everything is difficult in this industry.
Yeah.
Like it's super hard to.
No big mistakes.
Yeah, a big mistake is super costly because you have a car with like thousands and thousands of parts in it. Like one part is just not working, or is not being delivered, or is production issues with it, and then you cannot deliver a car that you built and spend tens of thousands of dollars building. Like it's a real problem.
All right, Carl in San Diego wants to bring back CCS1. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. Like, I think the NACS board is much easier to deal with. NACS cables are much easier to deal with. So
on the consumer front, for sure, but Jamie was just in the room right now talking about that a little bit. Like he talked with some industry people from other companies that are adapting NACS right now, and he said that they are having some issues cost-wise with it, though. They're surprised at the cost.
all right, Carl continues, is IONIQ 9 3-row? Yeah, it's 3-row. These giant EVs are antithetical to zero emission goals. So I kind of agree with that sometimes, but the problem is if this is not if they're not going to buy a 3-row EV, they're going to buy a 3-row gas car, which is going to spew a lot of gas. So, I mean, you could probably make 3 or 4 cars with the batteries from a giant Escalade, but people are going to buy giant
Yeah,
EV.
I agree with you. Like it's more difficult to get people to change their buying habits than it is to just make a better product that's more efficient. And it is way more efficient than a gas SUV. And also, like, it's not always true that it's completely anti-ethical. Is that the word?
Antithetical, yeah.
Yeah. Like here in Quebec, you're gonna get all your electricity from renewable sources, hydro. So you can, it doesn't change anything. And so the other impact is like at the manufacturing level, I guess. Like you said, it's a bigger battery pack, sure, but it's a recyclable one, so not the end of the world either.
By the way, did you hear you guys are taxing our electricity coming down?
Yeah, I think they're doing it in Ontario. I didn't see all the details on that. So it's Ontario doing it. Quebec is not doing it because also the federal government is not doing it. So it's like the Ontario premier, like who's Ford is his name?
Right. Yeah, not Rob Ford's brother or something.
Yeah, the guy that was caught smoking crack. So I don't know exactly how that works because I would assume that we have like contracts with, well, not we, but Ontario again has contracts with selling their electricity to these states in the U.S. Can they just break the contract and say, hey, now because your president is nuts and he's... By the way, we should give a little bit of an update on the tariffs because that's a little strange situation. I've never seen anything so screwed up in my life. So last week, the podcast on Friday, we were expecting the tariffs to come in place on Tuesday. And sure enough, they came on Tuesday. Canada, Mexico got flat 25% tariffs on everything except energy. That's just a mere 10%. And the tariffs were in place for a nice full day, or even maybe even a little bit less, because Trudeau got to call Trump, but I'm not sure that had really an impact. I think the big three called Trump and they complained about it because you're like, hey, you're gonna ruin our business because we get a ton of parts from Canada, we get a ton of parts from Mexico, and then we sell cars to the U.S. customer who's gonna pay a lot more. And he gave them another month delay. So now it's 2 months in a row that it's been delayed a month. So now we are back to early April for the tariffs. And then if you're concerned about something else than vehicles, of course, we cover mostly vehicles on Electrek, but the delay at first was just for the automotive business, and now it's been extended for every product that's under the free trade agreements between the US, Canada, and Mexico, which is basically everything. So the tariffs were a complete farce. It's just a threat. And
Also, it's a free trade agreement. Like
that he
it's there.
signed. That he signed just a few years ago.
I know, it's comical.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to watch. So
By the way,
like,
something to think about. Elon Musk is talking to Trump's ear. Tesla's supply chain is way less, focused on Canada and Mexico. Like they supply most of their stuff from inside the U.S. So if all their competitors are getting taxed for,
yeah, it would be good. I agree that Tesla would be affected less than other automakers.
Right.
But it would still be badly affected because I just posted a report on that this week. But Tesla gets roughly 25% of its parts from Mexico.
Right.
That's what we know for a fact from NHTSA. And it's between 20 and 25% on all models, but 25% for Model Y rear-wheel drive, Model Y all-wheel drive, which are the by far Tesla's most popular models. So closer to 25% from Mexico. And then the NHTSA data bundles together because we're such good partners, Canada and the US. So it doesn't actually tells us exactly what's coming from Canada from the US, but there's another percentage of that. I don't think that it's that high, like maybe like 10% or something, but that would put like closer to 35% of Tesla's parts getting a 25% tariffs on it. So it would still hurt Tesla badly.
All right. Does anyone in Canada want to be the 51st state in the US? I think they did it.
There's some.
There is they did it before Trump, but they did a survey and I think it was like 12%. So
I'm sure it's a little bit higher right now. I think there's a movement right now in Alberta to
the oil state, yeah.
Yeah, our least loyal state. Now our least loyal state. Before that, it was here in Quebec that was least loyal. But, there's a movement to like, all right, we don't even need to get the rest of Canada involved. Let's just Alberta itself will join the U.S. There's some Trumpers everywhere around the world, including Canada. But for the most part, no. Most people are not interested. And that's the thing with the tariffs that are just like threats now. It's tariff threats rather than tariffs. It's like, even though they're not getting implemented, the only thing Trump has really managed to do right now, other than scare the hell out of the markets and create a slump, which I wouldn't be surprised if there's some insider trading going on that, because I know I've made a lot of money shorting the market in the last 2 weeks, and I would have made a shit ton more money if I knew Trump, and Trump would tell me whenever he implements and not implements the tariffs, I would be ultra rich right now. I'm sure some people are involved in that. There's just no doubt about it. Right. But what they have managed to do is that they have made every Mexican and Canadian think twice about buying American products now, regardless of the tariffs, because you're like, right, we're supposed to be friends now. We have a free trade agreement, and you keep making threats for nuts for half a pound of fentanyl that might or might not have crossed the border from Canada. Are you kidding me? Not that the fentanyl problem is not a big problem in the U.S. I agree, it's a big problem.
That's just an excuse, obviously.
It just has nothing to do with us or our border.
Right. All right, let's move on. Question: your analysis on Tesla is extremely comprehensive. Why do most larger outlets struggle to cover this company? I think there's no PR, right? So
that's true. That's a good point.
Outlet would kind of rely on PR. Also, the whole EV, it's fast moving. So
Yeah, we're a niche media, so like, and we've been doing this for a long. I've been covering Tesla for like 15 years, and I'm coming up. I said I'm coming up on 10 years at Electrek this
nice.
May. 10
Going
years
into
full time. So like obviously we kind of you have to be kind of an expert at that point, but we do appreciate the comment. I do think we're fair on Tesla, even how harsh we are. I think Tesla needs that right now. I think I'm a bigger Tesla fan than people like the Sawyer Merritt of the world, the Omar and everything, because I think they are ultimately destroying Tesla by just agreeing with everything that Elon does. I don't think that's positive for Tesla. I think that long term Tesla will do a lot better. If you want Elon to stay at Tesla, you want it for the stock price, because I do agree. If Elon leaves tomorrow, the stock price crashes and everything, but the stock and the company and its mission to accelerate the advent of electric transport and renewable energy are separate, especially when you're sitting on $30 billion. Yeah. It's not like Tesla is not looking to raise cash right now. And, the high stock price is only good for raising cash. So if you don't need to raise cash, I'm not looking at the stock price. I'm looking at Tesla selling fewer and fewer cars every year, and Tesla having launched one single car in the last 5 years, and it's a total flop, selling at 10% of the production capacity. Like, at one point, do you blame management? At one point.
All right, let's move on. Peter, which expensive EV are you excited about getting released in 2025 here in North America? Got to go with the Bolt on that one.
Yeah, I mean, what's an inexpensive EV? There's no new Bolt to buy though right now, right?
No, you can't buy a Bolt. I mean, I guess the Equinox is kind of cheap, but it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty cheap one. The Prologue is not too expensive too, especially if you're released in 2025. Oh, okay. Well, we're still early in the year now.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
All right, I am most excited to see what Tesla has come with for their cheaper cars. Not saying I would get one, but hopefully they will pressure other companies with lower price offerings. Yeah, that's true. The lower price Tesla is supposed to be on the way. Maybe we'll hear about it shortly.
Yeah, we should hear about it soon, but keep in mind, from everything we heard so far, they are based on Model 3 and Model Y, so they're going to be pretty close to those vehicles, a little bit more bare, a little bit fewer features in there, a little bit less luxury, and yes, a lower price.
I kind of feel like it's going to be like a robo-taxi with a steering wheel. Like,
some people think that. I mean, the robo-taxi is kind of weird for a consumer vehicle. Yeah.
All right, Jamie, colleague, says specifically on the Nax board, what I heard is that they were having trouble with electronic interference, and it was just a bigger tooling job than they thought, having to get a whole new harnesses.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right, when Tesla discontinues Cybertruck, no demand, toxic public view, continuing production will be at a loss eventually.
Okay, so hear me out. So I was thinking actually about that this week, and I don't think Tesla discontinues the Cybertruck under Elon Musk. I don't think Elon can take a loss like that. I don't think he wants to admit defeat or anything like that. So forget about it. If Elon's leave for whatever reason, the stock crashed to $100, and then he gets shareholder pressure and they leave, then new management put me in charge. Okay. I'm not saying that I want to be in charge or I'm going to be in charge. I'm just saying what I think competent management would do about the Cybertruck. First of all, I do think the sales will be helped along by Elon not being associated with Tesla anymore. That will help a little bit. Then you have to rethink the 4680. I think the 4680 cells that Tesla used in the Cybertruck are part of the issues. I wouldn't be surprised that you could use the latest generation cells from suppliers and probably make the Cybertruck cheaper and have longer range, which are the two main issues with the Cybertruck compared to what was announced. So I think there's a possibility that you could redesign the Cybertruck around other cells than Tesla's producing. So instead of discontinuing the Cybertruck, you might discontinue the 4680 and do with something else and make the Cybertruck better, longer range, potentially even cheaper, and removing the Musk from the equation, higher demand. I think it's salvageable because I drove the Cybertruck. I actually enjoyed it for the most part. I had some issues with it, obviously. I think it's not a perfect vehicle. But at the same time, the thing I loved the model was the steer-by-wire, and you could just bring that to other Tesla vehicles and do great too.
Yeah. All right, Jamie, which then compromised their plans for other electronics in the car. He's talking about the NACS.
Yeah, still on the next there.
Ian says the boycott is permanent. I've since bought an R1T and an ID Buzz after unloading my Model S and Model Y. Canceled my day one Cybertruck order as well. Sold the last of my stock bought in 2012. I won't be all involved in anything Tesla while Musk is involved. A lot of that going on. So. When will we get a bidirectional NACS standard? I think NACS can do bidirectional. It's just the software at this point, right?
And I don't think it's like it's standardized. I don't think it's in the protocol. Like it's not part of the SAE protocol just yet.
I mean, isn't the Cybertruck bidirectional NACS?
Yeah, it's just I don't think so. Tesla can do it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if. Well, I mean, if Hyundai did it, if Hyundai already has NACS on it and they have bidirectional, it has to be a standard then.
Yeah.
Think of it. Yeah, maybe we should look into that.
Canadians are even turning on Gretzky now. I respect y'all for swiftly taking a strong national stance on this. What did Gretzky do?
I think Gretzky's a Trump fan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Rob Ford blocking U.S. liquor is a great move.
Yeah, not for Kentucky though. We buy in Canada and in Quebec and Ontario specifically. We buy a ton of Kentucky bourbon, myself included, and I'm not a boycott guy very much. I had to go and load up on the bourbon myself on some Buffalo Trace. I need my Buffalo Trace. Jamie said, if Elon sells all his Tesla, I'll buy Tesla. I'm in the same boat. I think I buy Tesla.
The dip. Buy it on the dip.
Yeah, I think Tesla is back down to around where I sold it last year. And I made some money shorting the market, the NASDAQ. So like I would buy back Tesla if Elon is out and the stock is under 150. I think it's a buy. Because I think you can turn this around, bring back a few people. Obviously, what is going to depend on the new management, but I think Tesla is more than salvageable, even though it has a lot of issues. And the biggest one I think is going to be how do you handle the liability of Elon's promises on self-driving? That's going to be a big one. So that's going to be a big hit and everything. But I think it's all doable. They still have great products. They have fallen behind a little bit, but I think there's still a lot you can do with it. Anyway. That's it for this week's episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, and I'm joined, as usual, by Seth Wintrout, and we're going to see you same place, same time next week. Bye-bye.